First of all, remember I had been in the mass media for a long time. I had been working at the Monitor for 6 years, and I had worked in a management position. I was general manager of KFM. After that, I was political editor. So I understood, in fact, a director of strategy at the Monitor, but unofficial. So I had already understood the basics of what runs a media organization. And I conceived this idea when I was in 2003 with Conrad Nkudu of beginning a newspaper, but we did not have capital to start it. So in 2006, although we did not have capital, or 2007, I decided to begin a newspaper because there was a clear opening. The Aga Khan was putting under Monitor under a lot of pressure not to be independent. Yet, Monitor's strategic positioning in the market was its independence. So if the Aga Khan was stripping Monitor of its independence, then he was creating a gap in the market, and then I decided to occupy that gap. Own an apartment in London. So I went to London in mid-2007. I sold my apartment when the market was still high, and a year later the market tanked. So I sold my apartment, I did not raise a lot of capital. So I raised some little money from the capital gain on my house, and then put it into the business. Then I had a lot of goodwill. MTN, City Tires, Grand Bank, Spear Motors, Wava Water. I had so many, Mukwano. I have so many friends in business who even placed adverts with us and even gave us 6 months contracts of advertising even before the newspaper came out. So we already had goodwill. I should tell you the following things that run a business. One, a business needs more social capital than financial capital, because social capital gives you continuous business. Money capital can be exhausted. Two, for a business to survive, it needs cash flow. When you are fresh in the market, your suppliers insist that you pay them in advance because you do not have a reputation, while those whom you supply services to, whom you call your debtors, are big people. They ask you to give them a credit line of up to 60 to 90 days. So there is, even if you become profitable in the first 2 months, there will be a mismatch between the amount of money you are paying against the amount of money you are able to collect, which is called a cash flow constraint. So I learned one thing in business, that you can have a business closed down, not because it's not profitable, but because it has no cash flow. Now, what helped us with cash flow? Grand Bank, because we could be able to run an overdraft of 200 million shillings on our account, which would allow us to roll over our short-term cash constraints using an overdraft as we collect money from our debtors. Yes. First of all, I think that, business success comes from a number of factors. One of them is an intangible factor called luck. You have good luck. The second one is that you have social capital. For me, I had social capital, which was a brand name. People knew I do good investigations. Remember, the Independent initially was built on me as a brand. So I had already a brand in the market that I investigate good stories so they could get good information. I also had a brand that I'm bold. I can tell the truth without fear or favor of anybody or authority. So those two things gave me a ready-made readership. Then I had the social capital in terms of the kind of business contacts I had who were able to give me advertising. And then three, I had the goodwill of the people of Uganda. Those are intangibles. And of course, sometimes luck plays. But in terms of business strategy, of course, I had together with Peter Mpala, who is now our current managing director. By the way, I have resigned as managing director of the Independent. So Peter Mpala had written a very good business proposal on the financial parts, the financial side. So we're able to know what are going to be our costs, what are going to be our revenue projections, and how are we going to manage the coming short cash flow problems. And we had sizable initial capital to begin the business. When you are in this business is never allow the noises of a few loud groups to influence what you do. You see, we said we were going to be an independent newspaper, but people were saying we were there to fight Museveni. If you read our first issue, it clearly states that we will hold all politicians to account, whether in the government or in the opposition. That is clearly stated. Now, it is very difficult to be independent. Do you know why? Because to be independent means that you do not appeal to fanatical support. The opponents of Museveni would want us to see him bashing him all the time, right? And if we don't do that, they say, no, you are soft, you are being compromised. while at the same time, if we were to critically put BSG under scrutiny, because all leaders, whether in the government or in the opposition, must be under rigorous scrutiny. So when we place BSG under rigorous scrutiny, and I think we have not done a very good job of it at the Independent, then they say, oh, Museveni has compromised you. Now, the challenge you have as an editor is to say you must defend your values, not your reputation. Because your reputation can fluctuate according to the mood of the public, and the mood of the public keeps shifting back and forth. You can never know, you see. So what is important is for you to write down a set of values and principles and editorial guidelines that determine how you structure your message. Very good to listen to positive feedback from the market and from your listeners, because if people say Mwenda has been compromised, there must be a problem to it. You must listen to it, but don't allow it to fundamentally influence how you behave, because how you behave must be influenced by your ideals and your integrity. Integrity is honesty to yourself. Reputation is what others think about you. You can go out there and project an image that is very different from who you are, and people can buy it. But that is a very easy thing to do. The most difficult thing is to be a person of integrity, because many people may get frustrated at a certain point because they're not understanding your point of view, and the greatest ally of integrity and the truth is time. Over time, people begin saying, our expectations, they say politicians have bribed us. Now, a man like me who have been in a business, we journalists in the business of journalism, I have stepped on so many people's toes. Just assume some guy had given me a bribe. My friend, I would be blackmailed to my grave. So I stand so proud on a moral pedestal, knowing that no one will emerge from anywhere and say, I gave Andrew Mwenda 10 shillings to either publish a story or to kill it. That human being doesn't exist. First of all, the Independent is growing. We have been growing at the rate, in our first year, our total revenue was 1.4 billion. In our second year, I think 2.1 billion. So we grew by close to 800 million. In our third year, it was 3.5 billion. So we grew by 1.2 billion. You see, now this year we're projecting to have 5.5 billion. We're expecting the value of our company right now started from zero. Right now, the Independent is possibly worth about $5 million. You see, so we project by 2017, which is after 10 years, we will be most likely 80% of the size of Monta today, which means we have enjoyed rapid growth. How do you sustain that growth? That is the biggest challenge. First, we have last year we went into a retreat where we did a growth and diversification strategy. One, we are going into other products. Possibly we'll do a sports magazine, we'll do a health magazine, we'll do a leisure magazine. But we're doing something important called Uganda. Every year we'll do Uganda in 2010, Uganda in 2011, Uganda in 2012. We're going to do a business directed on Rwanda. We are going to launch a new edition for Rwanda, Independent for Rwanda, specific market. Possibly we'll launch Independent for Juba. We are looking, you never know, we may go into radio, and possibly in our 15th year when we float our shares on the stock exchange, be a company worth about $15 to $20 million. We are planning to go into the stock exchange, become a publicly listed company, and then we may even go into TV. Because if we can go to the stock exchange and raise $10, $15 million selling shares, because we are a very profitable company by any standard in the world, our rate of return is about 36 to 45% per year. So return on capital invested. So I suspect that very soon Independent will be also in television business. The biggest problem for any business across the world is human resource. That problem of skills is so bad in poor countries like this because we don't have skills. Now me, I don't even have the skills of being a good manager, because a good manager is a person who is able to get the stones and turn them into milk. I'm not good. That's why I have even resigned. I think that the business is going at a rate where I do not have the managerial competencies to manage the complexity of its finances. I can provide strategy, strategic direction, ideas, but I don't consider myself a good manager. That's why we have had a much more professional manager. So the skills problem is the biggest constraint facing the Independent, because we have this huge ambition, but we have very limited capacity to achieve that ambition. In other words, you can desire to achieve so many things, but you need people. Now, what we can say at Independent over the last 3 years, we have actually been able, within the limits of the Ugandan skills constraints. Within the limits of Uganda's social structure, we have been able to sustainably grow a business because ultimately, you do not need skill, very good skill, as a fashion show. You need skill to produce results. Really, if with what we consider idealistically bad skill, we have enjoyed growth of more than 84% per year. Google, with the best skill in the world, is doing 36% growth. It means really we have a very good skill. But we should never rest. And I think one of the reasons we have hired a new general manager is not only to hire new skill, because there are two things that shape your output in a business. One, how the business is organized and therefore managed. Because certain forms of organization can allow your business to grow multiplicatively. In other words, at the geometric rate, 2, 4, 8, 16, or possibly 2, 4, 16, 64, 128. It grows exponentially. But certain forms of organization can also allow your business to grow only additively. 1, 2, 3, 4. So organization has powerful implications on the rate of growth. And one of the things we're trying to do right now is improve organization. So you can have the best skills, but when they are not the factors are not properly combined to produce results at a geometric rate or at an exponential rate, you can always be stagnating with your business without growth. So right now we are going through those trials and errors. And please, for everybody else who is listening to this program, the young people must know that first of all, you should never fear to lose, because business is a risk, and you can make a misjudgment of business and fail. I have met some of the most successful billionaires in the world, and because I have had one of the greatest privileges I have had is when I travel across the world speaking at business forums, I meet people who have made billions and billions of dollars, billionaires, and they tell me how many times they set up businesses and these businesses fail. I met a guy in Australia who told me he set up a business 13 times, 13 businesses failing. It is his 14th business that gave him a break. Branson, you should ask him. He did so many businesses that failed. Then he hit Virgin. So, first of all, failure should never discourage you. The idea is try, and try again. And to be able to do that, you need to have a lot of faith, enormous faith in yourself. If you believe in yourself, it means even when you fail, you say, well, I made this mistake. You must be always honest to recognize your weaknesses. I have told you, like here, I'm not a very good manager, so I can't run my business. I have resigned and hired a person who can manage it better than me. So you must be brutally honest to yourself. Sometimes people have egos, and their egos stop them from seeing their weaknesses. The most important thing in a business is to recognize what are your core weaknesses and what are your core strengths. Always try to leverage your strength, do very little to fix your weaknesses. Because when you try to fix your weaknesses, the growth in results is additive, 1, 2, 3. When you leverage your strength, the growth in results is geometric. 4, 8, 16, 64, 128, 1,200.